I am boycotting Sony, more specifically PlayStation Studios. In case you haven't heard, which I am very concerned about, or if you're just living under a rock and you barely have any Wi-Fi whatsoever, but Sony has been breaking down what they are known for, or at least what they've been breaking down their reputation with very bad business decisions. Number one, we already had the issue with Helldivers 2. They released the game for you to play it without having to, have a PSN account. Not just that, it was also sold worldwide for both PC and PSN, or for PS5. Yes, it was sold globally on Steam for anyone to buy. But at the same time, they still gave you the option to, have a PlayStation login, like a PSN login with your own account and all of that. But they didn't do that until 3 months later in May, where they released, or at least rather, Arrowhead Studios released a completely different change in how it's going to work by forcing everyone who bought the game and wanted to play the game to just go ahead and, make a PSN account and log in as a prerequisite to play the game. This also did not look good for anyone because this game was being sold worldwide, and now everyone who couldn't get their own who couldn't make a PSN account because, well, guess what? PSN isn't available in each and every single country, only in 77. I am part of one of them. I am from South Africa. I have always been a PSN fanboy, or rather a PlayStation fanboy. But then when I got a PC, everything changed. I saw how it was really unfair that I had to pay to play online for the games that I already bought. I had to pay, and the entire market of, oh, you have to play doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And also there was the recent scandal with them with wanting to buy Kadokawa, and by extension they were by From Software. And in case you don't know, that means that they are going to have full control over From Software, who is already just a huge gaming giant and are already under heavy fire because there's just been a crazy issue with the UN and Japanese censorship, because they have been saying, hey, you need to censor manga, you need to censor anime, you need to censor the video games as well. And it's mainly because it's just like to protect women for some reason. I mean, yeah, there is an issue with Japanese media and so on, more specifically with anime and manga, but still, I'm not going to talk about that right here. But I'm mainly concerned about video games, because video games, yes, we do know that that Japanese has a lot of good video games, like Nier Automata by Square Enix. We also have Final Fantasy franchise. Great game series. I've only played the FF7 remake, but only like a small portion of it. I haven't got the integrated version because I was still playing on my PS4 then. But speaking on that, the PS4, when it released, it was the exact same price as any other country, which is one of the main things that I also want to talk about. So, in 2015, I first got my PS4, and and my parents bought it for 6,000 rand. 6,000 rand. That is a completely different currency that you guys won't be aware of. But translation at the time, it was $400. $400. Nothing wrong with that. It was the exact same price as any other country. And then came the release of the PS5. The PS5, instead of being sold for at least 6,000 rand, or at least the equivalent according to, rand to dollar and so on. Like, you have the entire exchange rate in currencies and whatnot. It was instead being sold for over double the price. Yes, for over double the price, it was being sold. And I'm like, what? 12,000 rand, which, not just that, you can convert it right now. We're having a Black Friday sale, and it's being sold for the exact same cost as it was 4 years back. That's why I haven't gotten a PS5, simply because I knew that, okay, I'm going to buy a PS5, then the Slim is going to come out, and then the Pro. And maybe once the Slim or the Pro comes out, maybe I'll look at it from a different perspective and just say, hey, I might just buy it. The Slim came out, no change in price whatsoever. No change in price whatsoever at all. And you know what's worse? You know what? They decided to bump up the price of the original. And the original is still being sold right now. They increased the price by like a full $100 or $150, right? And when I was looking at it, I was like, what is going on? Why is it being increased instead of, being decreased? I know that each and every single country, like, not each and every single country, but UK and US did see an increase of by like $50, 50 pounds, 50 euros, wherever you are. But not just that. Why am I being affected by it? Because we do not have as much of a trade tariff as much as all of these other countries, and we do have our own Sony and PlayStation branch here, which does operate. And it's just like, what is going on? Now, yes, the same is the case with the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox, but those two are better off simply because they only have one model each. Whereas here, there is two models, both of them being the exact same price. One, well, not exactly same price, but one was being sold for more, even though that it was older, and was just worse in every sort of way possible. And then we had the smaller version, which could also, it could either be digital or with the disc as well, which I have to say, that's okay. That is a good addition, and I do not have any problems with that. But it's still being sold for the same price as the original PlayStation 5 when it came out, and we don't see any price difference whatsoever. So it's just incentivizing for us to get the Slim instead of the original, which is supposed to be the case. But let me just dig a bit deeper. Then came the introduction with the Pro. The PS5 Pro, already it has an egregious price tag. It already has an egregious price tag of $700 USD. Yeah, 700 USD is not a good price. And it's just like, what is going on? Everyone was so upset, especially once they saw that there was basically no games being marketed with it. And then they also went ahead and they decided, you know what? Let's give Bloodborne a little graphical uplift. When already Bloodborne is already being emulated on PC. And it's very obvious that Sony just doesn't care about Bloodborne in the slightest. Because if they really did something with Bloodborne in the first place, with the PS5, then we would have been able to see that, oh, okay, they at least do care. They do have a patch, they do have this, they do have that. But the patch that they put out was only for graphics, not even for an update to frames per second. Yes, the game still runs at 30 FPS, even on the Pro, and it's not even more stable. No, it's still not as stable. It still dips into like 20 and 15. For me, I have a very unstable PlayStation, but it still goes up to like about 40 FPS for the game for some stupid reason, even though there is a PS4. And I've had the same issue when it came to competitive games, like with Fortnite, when I was still playing it for some reason. I don't know why, but it would occasionally peak up to 70 or how close to 80 FPS sometimes, and then it would just go back down to 60 FPS, which confused me very much. But now, let's get to the price tag of the PS5 Pro in my country. So, yes, $700, that is already egregious. And that is also the amount that I am paying for a regular version of the PS5 and the PS5 Slim, which is $700 already. And right now it's creeping closer to $800. So I don't know what's going on. But that is not the end of it. The PS5 Pro is literally 19,500 Rand, which, I kid you not, is over $1,100, which makes absolutely zero sense to me why that's even the case. And don't even get me started with the disk drive as well, because you can go ahead, buy it with the disk drive, and guess what? It's 22,000. Why am I paying the same exact price of rent in a country where, no, not in a country, in a city, right? In a city, a metropolis. 20,000 Rand in a double-story house. Yes, a double-story house, that's enough for rent. Hell, that's my mortgage payment. And yet, I am still paying the exact same amount for a PS5, which does not do any editing whatsoever. I cannot work on it. I cannot do any of these other things that are way more important than me just playing the game. And then they still have the audacity to say, hey, you still need to get the disk drive. What? What do you mean that I still need to get the disk drive? Which is an additional 3,000 Rand for absolutely zero reason whatsoever. So you're telling me that I can pay $1,100 for the base version of the PS5 Pro, and I still need to upgrade it with time, just for me to play all the games that I have collected for backwards compatibility. It doesn't make sense in the slightest. It doesn't make sense in the slightest as to why they would even do this in the first place. Oh, and don't even get me started on the price conversions. With the PS5 Pro, the entire bundle by itself, not even including an extra controller, just the PS5, the controller, and the disk drive, is more than $1,200. Why does this exist? I can go ahead, buy a PC, build a PC that is more powerful than the PS5 Pro, and they have been flaunting the PS5 Pro's new improved graphics and performance, but they don't use the hardware that is given to really showcase that. And it's just like, what is going on? Then they introduce new AI upscaling. They introduce all of these different gimmicks that everyone has been using, and they just use it as, oh no, it's our own technology. No, it's not. We can clearly see that with Fidelity FX CAS, it is completely the exact same thing. It's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. This is why I am boycotting Sony and PlayStation Studios. From this day onwards, I am not going to buy any other game, any other product, any other different, like anything that is PlayStation. Right? I'm not gonna do that. And there's still some things that I want to talk about. Can we talk about how they are now forcing gamers to make accounts, even though that you don't even need to make an account for you to play a physical game on the PS5? You do not need an account. But why do I need an account to play the game that I bought on PC? When in reality, you never did that with the previous games that you ported over to the bloody PC. Huh? And then you're forcing this onto Steam and Epic Gamers. Oh, and don't even get me started. You could easily just make your own portal and just sell it on that platform. You can easily just do that instead of trying to force everyone by saying, hey, you need to have a PlayStation account, you need to have a Sony account, you need to have this. No, I can't deal with that anymore. You are now gatekeeping so many people from being able to play your games who have anticipated playing your games. But now you are screwing them over by forcing them to get a PSN account, which doesn't even boot over to PS5 and PS4. No, it doesn't do that. I've tried it and it doesn't do it in the slightest. It doesn't do it in the slightest. I've tried it myself and it doesn't even work. And oh, what do you know? They just say, oh no, it also gives you access to PSN trophies. No, nobody cares about PSN trophies anymore. No one cares about PSN trophies. Yeah, while they may look good, it's not functional because we do not have that own PSN profile for ourselves. We do not get it. We don't. And it's not even supported by each and every single game. Don't even get me started with Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. You took it down and you said, okay, now paying additional 200 Rand for it. When originally it was already $40. Your games are already egregious as a whole. You guys have had a terrible launch with Concord, and now you're just forcing it down our throats, even though that you guys messed up by investing so much money into a studio that was making their first ever game, even though that it was a hero shooter that was just dead. There was absolutely no reason for us to even, be interested in it. And yet you kept pushing it. You spent $400 million on a game that failed. And then you refunded it to everyone and just said, well, time to buy Kadokawa. You already bought Bungie. And even Bungie is collapsing right now. So, what is going on, Sony? Right? I used to respect you. I used to see that you were a respectable company, but now all I see is that you're just a former shell of yourself. You are trying to relive the glory days of the console wars, which have been dead for over a decade. Right now, I am emulating Bloodborne on PC. I'm not even gonna use my PlayStation 4 or hell, if I even get a PS5 in the slightest, unless I see any sort of change in the way that you guys operate. For as long as you guys operate like this, I am not going to entertain your business. I am not going to support you in the slightest. I'm not going to change my purchases. I'm voting with my wallet, and I am not going to entertain any of your business practices anymore. If you guys go ahead and buy Kadokawa, and by extension buy FromSoft, then I don't know what to do anymore, because I am going to be in a position of where if it does go ahead, then I'm going to end up supporting you in the end. And by extension, it also incentivizes me to get a PS5 or hell, even a PS6, just so then I can experience the game. Solely for one reason, and one reason only, because it gives me the opportunity to play Sony or PlayStation exclusives if you do make all games that are from software an exclusive, or all future projects, which doesn't help in the slightest. I'm sick and tired of how Sony has been conducting themselves, and I am not here to stand for it.